Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
And now, from the Dignity Health Studio at the Bakersfield Californian, it's time to open up with Don and Tina, your favorite pair, on the air.
Yes, yes. It is time to open up with Don and Tina.
Good morning, Tina.
Good morning. I'm so happy to see you again.
Back in the saddle.
You've been gone too long.
Yes, all right.
But anyway, we're delighted. We are here for an exciting lineup of a show.
Oh, my.
Our sponsor today, what an exciting person we're going to be talking with here in a minute. And this is Jose Arredondo with Family Motors Auto Group.
And I want to preface this, folks. We've got viewers all over California, 7 different nations, and all over the country. And what you're about to hear in this man is a true inspirational American success story. I mean, where you start at the bottom and you end up at the top, and how does that happen? And so, Jose, so glad to have you here. Jose Arredondo, start us out in your life at the very beginning. I mean, down even before you start washing cars here in Bakersfield, California.
Well, you know what? It's kind of excited because coming up, actually growing up in Mexico and coming to this country at the age of 12, it was very interesting. You know, I come from a big family, 11, and I came here. I arrived. Actually,
were you the oldest, youngest of that 11?
I'm from the top. I'm the 7 and the bottom, and from the bottom I'm the 4. So I'm right in almost between. And I arrived in Valencia in 1972. Okay. And I went to school. I think a year and a half in junior high, and then I just my mom was a maid cleaning houses, so, and then I just kind of wanted to go back to Mexico, but she says, no, you got to stay here so you can go to school. So I went to also school to high school 1 year, and then before I was turning 17, I dropped out of high school and I went to wash cars in a dealership.
How was your English at that time? Did you even know English or have to pick it up?
I used to use my hands a lot to speak, and I still do it once in a while because I think it's important to, when you don't know how to express yourself. That's right. So it was very, 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 very poor, and I remember this gentleman, when I went to apply, he asked me if I knew how to wax cars, and I said yes, and excited. Well, I never waxed a car before, and he says, well, here's this car. His name was Gray Davis, the manager of the Toyota dealership. So he says, I'll be back in half hour. So I start, washing, and I say, what am I going to do? Waxing. I never waxed a car. And I was so excited. So when he comes back, he says, he walked around the car and he says, and then when I was doing that, I started whistling. And I don't know why I started whistling, but I thought in my mind, I better start whistling so I don't have him focus on the car. So he turned around, Don, and he says, you know what? It doesn't look too good, he says, but I like your attitude. That's when I understood attitude.
Yes.
And I say, wait a minute, this is interesting. So from there, I just...
As the little boy, did you, like some little boys, they have a love for toys, maybe trucks, cars, or anything. Did you have anything?
No. When I was in Mexico, the only toys that I had is little rocks. You thought they were marbles, but then we used to play with rocks. I didn't have no toys. They used to tell me that if you behave good, right before Christmas, that you will... Santa Claus will bring you gifts and they will be at your door. And I used to, always look for that, and I never got to experience that. Actually, my first tennis shoes is when I came to the United States.
Wow.
I didn't have no toys.
Jose, what was it specifically about your attitude that impressed that man? And then what attitude has carried you forward, as we're going to explain where you are today in your life?
The attitude was that I realized that if you smile and you just you're just excited about what you're doing, you don't realize that other people's watching you, and maybe somebody in there is someone that says, I'm looking for someone with that kind of an attitude to help me to build my company thing. And I did learn that, and to today, that's the most powerful tool any human being has, the attitude to react positive in any circumstances.
Because we choose to.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. And it really doesn't matter, most people, because I believe very strong in education. As you know, I give a lot of scholarships to kids. But I always let them know that don't just think that education and a diploma and you get a degree, you think you got it made. That's just another tool for you to go in the marketplace. But now you need to know how to market it yourself, sell yourself to whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very important thing.
So that's just part of it.
Just part of it, absolutely. You can have all the tools together, but if you don't have a good attitude, the tools, they're not going to do you no good.
So here you are, a poor kid from Mexico, barely speaks English, and now you've waxed and washed a car.
Whistling.
Yes.
Whistling. Take us now through the progression that has taken you to the top of the automotive dealership business.
Correct. And then after that, I this other man approached me after, and he says, listen, like 2 years later after washing cars, I started washing cars in the 80s. I started in 1977. And he asked me one day, I'm in the lot also again washing cars. Another gentleman, the gentleman that hired me in the beginning, he left. So another gentleman comes in, and he said, it was in July, very hot, and I'm out there in the lot around 2 o'clock washing the cars fast so I can get out of the sun. And he asked me, this man walks, says, listen, young man, I've been in this business for a long time, and I never seen a young lot boy so excited washing cars and at 100 degree. That hit me again. I'm going, what is this? To me, I thought it was normal. So he says, listen, when you finish, come and see me. And then he walked me in his office and he says, tell me a little about you. I said, what am I? He says, tell me, are you from? I said, of course I'm from Mexico. He says, how do you, and then I explained him the whole situation, how we came to this country, my mother and everything was doing. And he says, listen, if you listen to me, I'm going to help you out so your mom one day don't have to be a maid.
So he was making himself as a mentor to you.
In a way, yes. Yes.
Here's a white guy, an old white guy, taking
right.
a young Hispanic under his arm and saying, I'm going to make you a success.
That's right. That's right. Actually, all of my people that came into my life to empower me to do the right thing, they were white folks. Okay, so. And he says, come to my office, and he says, listen, I'm going to give you an opportunity to wash cars from Monday through Friday, and Saturdays and Sundays, why don't you try to sell cars? I said, no, I don't want to sell cars. And he asked me why, and I'm going to tell you what answer I give him. I said, I really don't like the salespeople. They smoke, and they hang out together, and then, they drink too much. He says, but you don't have to be like them. I said, but if I'm going to be a salesman, how am I going to separate? He says, very easy. You don't hang out with them.
Wow.
So he tried a couple more times, and finally I said, no, but I'm making $275 every 2 weeks, take home. And he says, listen, you go out there and just smile to customers, and they will buy cars from you. And I really don't know why he was pushing me to do it. So I finally did it. My first 4 weekends, just by coming in, I sold 12 cars, and I made $2,475. And after that, he says, hire somebody else to do the job. You come in full time. Wow. So I don't know how it works. He saw something in me, and I'm so grateful. That was just one step on my beginning of my success.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
12 cars on your first sale.
Just in my first weekend, it's 4 weekends on the month. So in 8 days, I sold 12 cars.
And then he said, find someone else to hire
To
to take your
replace
place.
you,
Yes.
he says, now, watch what he says. He says, now you're graduating from washing cars to selling cars.
Yes.
So I did find me somebody to replace me, and I became a salesman.
And just stepping up.
And now, Jose, you are a very respected dealer of the high-end automobiles, most expensive automobiles on the market. Now you're running your own shop. Tell us about that.
Yes.
Well, it's very interesting that I'm still touch myself on a regular basis to be sure that I don't get sidetracked from the fact that this country and people that are running through their lives, that they change my direction. I could be, I don't know, growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up, a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs. I came right from the heart of San Fernando Valley, and I'm still wondering how somebody took me out of there at a young age and direct me in the right path to show me to be a good citizen of this country. And then another man told me, hey, listen, I was behaving a little bit bad 1 month. I was not doing my work and selling cars. I was kind of slacking up on sales. And he said, listen, young man, let me ask you a question. Your parents, they should be embarrassing to bring you to the United States for you to be a loser.
Ooh.
And it kind of hit me. He says, yes. He says, they brought you all the way from Mexico, not to you to be a loser. So many times that I was trying to kind of slack, always somebody came and hit me right and between my eyes.
Jose, I think we have a chyron, do we not, Chris, of your dealership? We want to put that up so people know. Here it is. It's right here in Bakersfield in Kern County. It's Family Motors Auto Group. There's the website you can go to, Family Motors Auto Group. It's all about family with Jose.
Yes.
It always has been. And boy, if you want an Audi or a
Porsche. Or a Volkswagen or a used car or a Chevrolet or a GMC or Buick, we have them.
You know, there is one other aspect about your life, Jose, and that is you achieved such remarkable success that it really generated a lot of envy, and people said, oh my gosh, you must be doing something illegal to be so successful. And anyway, in 30 seconds, how have you dealt with that?
Well, I did have to deal with that when I came here in the 1993 in Kern County. They didn't know me. I came from L.A. I bought a business that it was just, actually the day that I took over, they actually put an ad in the paper that it was out of business. They should have said this business was sold, but it was an ad that it was out of business. And but I came already, when I came here, I was already probably prepared because my mentor told me to always be prepared, because when you stand for anything in life, you're always going to be criticized. He says anything. So I took that as, okay, I am doing good in this community. I don't know what they're talking about. So I was mentally already prepared. So I did ignore all the gossip that it was negative about my character, the way I was doing business. In 20 years, I'm still here. So I'm pretty sure God was right along with me to keep my attitude also straight and not listen to the negativity.
We're so glad you're still here in business.
Me too.
Always a delight to see you, Jose. Well, we have to break at this time, and when we come back, we have some more excellent stuff, and thanks to Chuck Noss and his fabulous drinks.
Very Merry Christmas to you, Jose.
Same here.
Very successful New Year to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Same way with you guys.
Bye-bye.
We do our research.
We're shoppers. I was hoping I could save money with Personal Express insurance.
We've had other quotes from other companies.
And in shopping around, it was the best price.
When she actually ran the numbers, I was shocked at the savings that I had.
I have checked around. Personal Express insurance is less. They have great rates.
They're one of the lowest around that I've found.
Nobody can beat Personal Express insurance.
Low rates with the local advantage. That's Personal Express. Hi, Corey Costello here, host of Roadrunner Rundown, the official program of CESUB Roadrunner Athletics, right here on Bakersfield.com. Hey, join us this week for a special Monday edition of the program, as we're going to continue to talk CESUB basketball with head coach Rod Barnes, also women's basketball with head coach Greg McCall, and it's going to be a new Corey Versus on Roadrunner Rundown, special Monday edition, 10 a.m. right here on Bakersfield.com.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet! You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Every morning, I get to come to work here. We talk about the news, we talk about the community, and most importantly, we have fun. You can listen to us live every morning from 7 to 10 on News Talk 1180 KERN, but you can also watch the video live at Bakersfield.com. You can't miss us because you can watch or listen live on your mobile device. Join us from 7 to 10 a.m. weekday mornings right here at News Talk 1180 KERN or at Bakersfield.com. Come have fun with us.
Welcome back, everyone, to Open Up with Don and Tina. A special welcome to our viewers around the world, at least 7 countries we know of, many cities across the United States and up and down California. Here we are at coming to the height of the Christmas season, a lot of stress in people's lives, a lot of, obviously, ironically, a time of peace and goodwill, a lot of anger and frustration, and so we want to deal with that. And we've brought to our set today an expert in this field. His name is Ken Bomar, and Ken Bomar is a life coach who deals specifically in areas of anger management and stress and all the things that those turbulent emotions that we try to get under control. So, Ken, first of all, just take us back a bit through your biography. What led you into this field, and let's go from there.
Pretty much, personally, it's just my own struggle with getting my temper that I was pretty well known for under control.
Really?
I mean, I have a master's degree in marriage and family counseling, and even that didn't really help resolve the issues that caused my feeling so intensely angry. And my wife and I took a lot of years to struggle through a lot of that. And when I finally figured out what it was and what it was going to take, it was so incredible that I started sharing that with some of the kids that I worked with when I was a foster agency social worker. And then my friend Sharon Graylis, who's had a practice in town for several years, said, why don't you come on board and we can start working on this? And then I just kept moving from there.
Was this anger an early part of your character in boyhood, teenage years? When did people start saying, boy, this kid's got a temper?
Oh, it's actually, it's something that was enculturated. A lot of the beliefs that I'd been raised in were that it was endemic of my culture, my ethnicity, what environmental stressors were around, and yet there were people around me who had similar backgrounds who didn't seem to have that emotional response to things. And so I just assumed that everybody was right for years and years. And even the research that the APA turned out didn't really help resolve the issue. It just kind of made me feel trapped.
What culture, what ethnicity are we talking about here?
Well, my parents came from the Dust Bowl culture.
Okay.
And their culture that they came from was in Ireland and England. And so they had this viewpoint of growing up in the South or having that culture that came from the South part of the United States of being disenfranchised. And that disenfranchisement led, I guess, to a lot of beliefs that, you know, the world is against them or fate is against them or whatever powers that are beyond and external to them control what they feel and how they deal with the world. And I was raised in that. And then at some point I got tired of living that and saw that there are other people that seemed to have a handle on it, and I wanted to find out. And my research led to being able to get a better grip on it.
Was there a time when your anger seemed to work for your advantage, and that's why you kept it up?
Rarely.
Rarely.
It was a real disempowering and cyclic type of situation. So it leads people and me at that point to believing that there was no way out. So just deal with it, get over it. You're stuck with it.
Did anything happen, you know, in your earlier life during these anger times that maybe you didn't, well, that may have caused harm to someone else?
Not so much to someone else, but a lot to me.
Okay.
And, you know, just embarrassing myself with a lot of outbursts.
Okay.
You know, basically ostracizing myself from people that I wanted to be closer to and wanted to be friends with and couldn't because I had this intense feeling of that they were really not very accepting of me.
Would you shout at people, curse at people?
Oh, yes.
Over small things, big things, what?
It didn't matter. It depended on the circumstance because it could have been a snowballing situation. It could have been an intensely important situation. I've done crazy things. Like one time I punched a wall and put a dent in it. And on one hand, the crazy part about that is that some people would actually think, oh, wow, look at what you did, how powerful you are. And the other side of it was, look at how crazy you were to do something like that. And so I took a lot of that feeling of, you know, if I'm that bad and I can be much better, then what about people who are really struggling themselves? I can offer them some hope as much as I've been given hope. And it's really exciting to see that happen, much more so than to think about, you know, how crazy things were, but to think about how good things can get. And I learned that when I had the gift of working with the late Joe Gianantonio for about a year, and he's a well-known drug therapist here in Bakersfield, or was. And when I was working for him, I realized that, you know, a lot of us look at the world and we want to think, well, that's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair. But, you know, we're not interested in fair as much as we want our lives to be good. And so I wanted to give that goodness that I was experiencing thanks to my wife and the supportive people that I have in my life. And I wanted to share that with other people so that they can start making their lives better.
You don't just turn off anger and say, now I'm going to be a nice person. Somewhere there was a catalyst that started you on a journey.
Oh, absolutely.
And tell us about that.
Well, the catalyst is again, it's in the belief about where it comes from and how it works. If you believe that a car is magic and you get in it and you put the magic key in and flip the magic key, and then one day the car doesn't work, then you're not going to have a car that works. But if you understand how it works and what makes it happen, then you're going to be able to say, oh, okay, well, now I know what I have to do. I have to go fix it this way. So that empowers people and gives them more a sense of there's something I can do about this.
Did you start to figure this out on your own, or did you have real help to guide you who could see what was going on inside of you, and
I had a lot of people helping.
So take us on that journey. What was it? What did you begin to discover about yourself and the source of this rage inside yourself?
The rage was just something that came from a lot of the hard knocks that come from people who have that disenfranchised feeling at the very beginnings of their lives. My mother came from the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma. My father came from Arkansas, and they had a young marriage. They didn't understand the way the world worked, but they had their ideas and fantasies. They got married at a very young age, and my mother was widowed when she was 22. My father was 24 when he died, and so that perpetuated a lot of that sense of the world is against me in her mind, and that was the way that a lot of us were raised in the family that I grew up in. But as I got older, I had a really great friend when I was in high school who taught me a really interesting discipline. And through that, I thought I was going to get control of the anger. Mm-hmm. It turns out that I just got very skilled at presenting it. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people come to me and they say, should I enroll my kid in a karate class to control their temper? And I wholeheartedly say no.
Okay. Ken, we need to go to a break really quickly, but we are coming back, and we're going to hear more about this.
Let's hear about how you began helping others through this same syndrome, if you will. All right.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Thank you. Yes.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores. Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit KernBusinessJournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on KernBusinessJournal.com.
Save 50 to 90% with the Bakersfield Californian's Daily Deal featured on Bakersfield.com. A daily deal is offered each weekday on services from local restaurants, dry cleaners, health and beauty services, retail shops, and local activities for the entire family. The Daily Deal is 100% local. Find these amazing deals only at dailydeal.bakersfield.com.
Hi, Corey Costello here, host of Roadrunner Rundown, the official program of CESUB Roadrunner Athletics, right here on Bakersfield.com. Hey, join us this week for a special Monday edition of the program, as we're going to continue to talk CESUB basketball with head coach Rod Barnes, also women's basketball with head coach Greg McCall, and it's going to be a new Corey Versus on Roadrunner Rundown, special Monday edition, 10 a.m. right here on Bakersfield.com.
Every morning, I get to come to work here. We talk about the news, we talk about the community, and most importantly, we have fun. You can listen to us live every morning from 7 to 10 on News Talk 1180 KERN, but you can also watch the video live at Bakersfield.com. You can't miss us because you can watch or listen live on your mobile device. Join us from 7 to 10 a.m. weekday mornings right here at News Talk 1180 KERN or at Bakersfield.com. Come have fun with us.
Welcome back, everyone. There's a lot of joy on this set. No anger here. But we want to thank you all for joining us all over the world. Thanks to our studio audience. Welcome, everyone. Dawn, let's get back to Ken Bomar.
Tina, how often is it that when it's the deepest issues in our own lives that we struggle with and overcome,
yes,
or find ways to deal with,
yes,
that becomes our source of really ministering and helping other people?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I've got a lot of that I can talk about too, Dawn.
Well, and that's what we have with Ken Bomar here. Here is a man who struggled deeply with rage, with anger, with outbursts, alienating people, blocking his progress in life, frustrating any chance at friendships.
Getting
and
physical.
yet, Ken, you found a way through this, and now you're helping others. So
Yes.
what is it that you... I'll bet you're very good at spotting hidden anger in other people, and I'll bet you're good at starting to help them on the journey. And what is it that you teach people about overcoming irrational anger?
Great questions.
Well, where we start in everything is really the key. Remember when you were a kid in school and you were studying algebra, and they said, okay, well, we're going to start you in geometry, and here's a thing, it's called a point. And he's, what's a point? Well, it's this little dot that's on the paper. Oh, okay. And you just accept that. And then from there, you build on your theorems, your hypotheses, and your understanding of geometry, trigonometry, calculus. But it all starts with a fundamental belief in something. And the one thing that people tend to gravitate toward is that, well, I'm just naturally this way and I'm powerless. And the first thing that I show people is that there's tons of research now, thanks to experts like Dr. Bruce Perry, who's a neurologist in Texas, that we're not born with the hardware to have the emotions that we imagine ourselves being born with. We're just not there. So we're much more malleable than we realize. It is over time and experiences that we begin to gravitate towards certain responses. And those responses, when they come to us as anger, tend to gravitate around protecting us in a very animalistic way from the things that terrify us. When I was doing my program designs, I started realizing that anger is all about fear. But fear is the anticipation and projection of pain in the future or soon in the future. And that's too complex for something or someone who's as young as 2-3 months, a year old. Children can't project anything into the future. I loved talking with my children when they were little about time, and they would have some totally weird orientation of it. But anyway, the whole point of knowing that is that you're not born that way. You're taught to be that way. And if you're taught to be that way, you can unlearn being that way.
Oh, that's good.
I'd be curious. Now, when some idiot cuts you off in traffic now, and
he may not be an idiot.
Do you no longer feel frustration and anger or at that situation, or have you learned to deal in a different way with that situation?
Well, it depends on what's going on internally as well as externally. Because if your response to the fear is anger, and that's your conditioned response, that's something that you've ingrained in you. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
And that's something that you naturally went to. But if you were a lefty and you were taught to be a righty for all of your academic life, then you might have some propensity to go back and forth. So you'd have a choice in some ways. For those of us who were born righties and are trained to be righties, we're going to stay with that. That's just our natural propensity. But I remember teaching myself when I was in college how to play the guitar. And a lot of that was just learning how to just look at the left hand as just the left hand. And you don't really think about it being anything unusual until the first time I saw Paul McCartney's guitar playing and realized, oh my gosh, he does it backwards.
Really?
But that's just the way he does it. I mean, it's a conditioning.
Wow. Ken, during the break, I asked the question, and I referenced a relative of mine about the, is that really anger? Or is that coming? So you mentioned fear.
Absolutely.
And that's so the opposite of fear is love. Is that correct?
I'm not so sure if it has an opposite, but I do know that fear promotes and provokes us to be defensive and protective.
Okay.
And it's true in animals. I mean, when are you going to see an animal most angry? When it's afraid. And most of the behavior studies that have been done about humans and theories that have been made about humans started with research done with animals. So there's a real connection there. And I think that if we lose that, we start getting off into bunny trails that take us down nowhere.
Ken, one of the biggest problems in our society is domestic abuse. Men beating up on their wives. Now, I don't think they're afraid of their wives. And
absolutely.
They are afraid of their wives, and that's why they're beating them up?
Hugely
or
afraid.
Or maybe afraid of something else.
They're afraid of the rejection.
Okay.
They're afraid of the loss. They're afraid of that one person who seems to know them. I had the fortunate experience of working briefly with some domestic violence issues and people who are trained to work with it. And what they essentially find is that there's such a connection there that they're deathly afraid of losing it, and anything that threatens it sets these people into a tailspin.
I see.
Wow.
I see.
So when you're working with people, you are working to get to the root of the fear.
Right.
That's in them. Okay. And
school shootings, kids taking up arms, shooting their teachers, shooting their fellow classmates. What's going on there?
They're all afraid that something horrible is going to happen to them, and they have to do this to alleviate the fear.
Wow.
So it's just layered and it's not out there. And nobody wants to open up to it. I have big oil field workers coming in and they're saying, I'm not afraid of anything. And then within a couple of sessions, they're like, yeah, I am.
Fear.
Fear is it. Fear is really what's pushing all this.
Yeah.
I was listening to an interview with a college professor who did a survey of his students, and he simply asked the question, have you ever thought about killing anyone? And he was shocked at the response. They almost about 80%, I think he said, had not only just thought about it, but how they would do it, where they would do it, who they would do it to. Very specific expressions of homicidal anger at people. What's going on in our culture that would be such a high percentage in a classroom like that?
Well, look at our movies. We're kind of desensitized to it in the United States. If you were to, I had a friend who spent some time in Switzerland, and she was watching the movie Footloose. And at one point, they got to the point where there was a fight scene in the movie, and she knew it because she had seen it in America. And in Switzerland, they had completely cut it out, and they went straight to the dancing party. And so in America, it's part of our culture. It's part of what we do. It's the Marlboro Man thing. You know, I'm gonna be the John Wayne guy and come in here, and my fists are gonna do my talking for me.
Interesting.
And we idolize that to the point where that's what I want to be. And the funny thing is, a lot of the people that in movies perpetuate that image, case in point, Chuck Norris, they're actually sweetheart pussycat guys. I mean, he's the nice guy of the karate world. And I know this because I have a friend who's close friends with him. So it's an image that we like to attach to, but that isn't real.
I have a friend who was visiting Russia and was talking to a Russian military fellow, and they were talking about our two different militaries. And he said, if we went to war with you today, we would lose. You would win. And my friend said, why is that? And he said, we have better equipment than you do in many regards. But your people know joysticks and all of, he said, our tank operators don't know a joystick until they get in the tank. Your people have grown up doing joysticks and all of these things. He said, that's the difference.
There's a lot of conditioning toward it.
A lot of conditioning.
Yeah. I mean, look at what are the top video games? They're first-person shooter games.
What about just the whole political climate? There seems to be almost a built-in advantage, or at least fortunes to be made by stirring up outrage and keeping people angry and focusing on the bad and giving the worst possible construction to anyone that does something else. What's going on there, and how is this
Adam
affecting us?
Sorkin really put it well when he wrote The American President with Michael Douglas, and said that our political structure is set to make people afraid so that they will seek someone to be the answer. If I can make you afraid of it, then I can present myself as the answer.
It's the classic tactic of the demagogue.
Exactly. And when you have someone else to blame and you can do something to them, that temporarily gives you that sense of power, but it comes back. It always does, because the demon is inside of you. It's not outside of you.
And it's more destructive than we think.
Absolutely. It physically destroys people from the inside out.
We got 1 minute. We have 1 minute before we wrap up with this segment, Ken.
Yeah.
So if you were to if there's someone out there watching that's dealing with this kind of anger, wants to get past it, knows it's being destructive in his life and his relationships, what's kind of the summary advice you would give to a person like that?
Well, you have to have, and this is one of the things that really made it happen for me, is that you have to have a supportive environment. You have to know how to build supportive relationships that allow you to let your guards down safely so that you can really deal with those emotions, those fears, those things that make you cry in the middle of the night. And when you do that, then you start getting down to what is it that I am really afraid of? What is it that's really causing me all of this anguish and pain? And if I can really deal with that from whatever perspective I need to, and there are different perspectives for all kinds of different precursors to these fears. You have to deal with them where they begin. And knowing that is a big part of making things change.
Ken, we're so glad you came on. We
Yes,
really wish you the
very
best in your work with people out there. Blessings on you, and a wonderful Christmas for you and your wife.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you very
so much
Thanks
for joining
having
us,
me.
Ken. Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you, Tina.
Nice to meet you. And we're out for a break. We'll be back, and we will hear from Ed Davis and Jim Lopez. Good words for the week. Thank you.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores. Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit KernBusinessJournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on KernBusinessJournal.com.
Hi, Corey Costello here, host of Roadrunner Rundown, the official program of CESUB Roadrunner Athletics, right here on Bakersfield.com. Hey, join us this week for a special Monday edition of the program, as we're going to continue to talk CESUB basketball with head coach Rod Barnes, also women's basketball with head coach Greg McCall, and it's going to be a new Corey Versus on Roadrunner Rundown, special Monday edition, 10 a.m. right here on Bakersfield.com.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Save 50 to 90% with the Bakersfield Californian's Daily Deal featured on Bakersfield.com. A daily deal is offered each weekday on services from local restaurants, dry cleaners, health and beauty services, retail shops, and local activities for the entire family. The Daily Deal is 100% local. Find these amazing deals only at dailydeal.bakersfield.com.
Every morning, I get to come to work here. We talk about the news, we talk about the community, and most importantly, we have fun. You can listen to us live every morning from 7 to 10 on News Talk 1180 KERN, but you can also watch the video live at Bakersfield.com. You can't miss us because you can watch or listen live on your mobile device. Join us from 7 to 10 a.m. weekday mornings right here at News Talk 1180 KERN or at Bakersfield.com. Come have fun with us.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Open Up with Don and Tina. We've had a great sponsor on and talked with Ken Bomar about anger resolution. And we, Don, are celebrating the end of our first season.
The end of our first season. We're going to take a break for Christmas, join everybody out there around the Christmas tree with family and friends. So we'll see you back in January. But
lots of joy, no anger.
All right.
And but we're going into our Good Words segment, and we have a man who's so dearly loved in the community. His name is Jim Lopez, and he is a retired veteran. So welcome, Jim Lopez.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Don. It's good to be with you here.
Jim, give us some good words for the coming week, this holiday season that we're in.
Well, you know, you read a lot about Pass It On and everything else that you hear on there. Something happened to me last month. I went to Vallarta by Niles to purchase something, and somehow or another my wallet was missing. You always worry. I wasn't worried about the money in the wallet, but all the rest of the cards and stuff you have to replace. I just figured it's total loss. I get a call from my old neighbor that used to live by me when I was in the west side of Bakersfield. And she says, Jim, I got a young lady stop by here to bring your wallet. And I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, no. I went down there and I got her name and her phone number because she had already left. But this young lady, Norma Rocha, had found my wallet in one of the parks in East Bakersfield and drove all the way across town to deliver my wallet to a neighbor, which I already moved from there. But she found me through, since I'm a member of the Disabled Veterans and Veterans of Foreign Wars and American Legion, they called the American Legion or VFW, and they finally traced me down. And I went and met with Norma, and I actually wrote her a letter thanking her and telling her how glad that I have that we still have people like that in this country and in this city, in this county, that are looking out after. And she says, when I seen that you were a veteran, she said, I knew I had to get that wallet back to you. Mm-hmm. So, again, a big thank you, and we ought to just pass it on. You know, it's a season of goodwill and happiness, and we need to enforce that.
Jim, that's great. Jim Lopez, I'll tell you, a great American, a Vietnam veteran, great service, and a wonderful addition to this community. He does so much.
So much.
Listen, we're starting a segment here. Those were good words for the coming week. We've got another segment we're starting. We're calling it Open Forum. Now, we have Open Up, but this is Open Forum. Forum. Ed Davis is here. Ed is a scientist. He's an agronomist. He's one of the most eminent soil experts in this whole part of the valley. You know, we feed and fuel half the nation here, and soil is a very critical component of what we do here, what we grow. But Ed, you've got some things on your mind that you're very concerned about California's economic future. Share with us what that is today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. The thing that is jumping out at me foremost is this new CARB rule, which really isn't a new rule. It's a law that's been enacted for quite a while. The California Air Resources Board is trying to do everything they possibly can to ensure that they are continually improving our air quality in California, which they've done a very, very good job, and continue to do so. But we've got an unfortunate situation here where the new CARB laws are, in fact, as of January 1st, probably going to shut down a sizey percentage of the diesel trucks that are running up and down the freeway, just simply because the truck engines were made before 2008. So all of the trucks who have engines that are greater than 2008, those trucks have to have a $15,000 filter put on them so they can continue to, in fact, work in our beloved state here. The unfortunate reality is that most of the trucks that are on the road right now, in fact, 45% of the trucks that are running up and down the freeway are single owner-operator trucks. So it's one guy that owns one truck. And the average rate that these guys actually make, information coming from the California Trucking Association clearly defines that truckers only make somewhere in the neighborhood of $42,000 a year.
Wow.
So these guys who are running up and down the road, they do not make any money, and they cannot afford these $15,000 filters to be put on their truck. So it's just a little small filter like this, but it's got platinum in it. And I've never been able to get anybody to tell me to quantify the amount of platinum in it. Obviously, platinum is a very expensive metal. So we're very concerned about this from the vantage point that it is going to shut down trucking companies because they physically cannot afford to put these filters on their truck because they don't make enough money. They really don't.
And the deadline is when?
January 1st. So if the three of us are running a truck with an engine that's 2007 or older, we have to park our truck on January 1st or else a $1,000 a day fine for the trucking companies. And if you go into a facility and they load your truck and you take it out on the road and you're pulled over by the highway patrol to check your registration and to make sure you're following the CARB rules, then the people who loaded you also get a $10,000 fine for loading that truck. So the reality is that because California Commerce runs on diesel trucks, we don't rely on rail here in California.
Right.
It's diesel trucks because they are so efficient and they do such a wonderful job. It's one of the biggest reasons why California is as strong as it is, because of our diesel truck system. The problem is that 45% of the truckers are single owner operators, and their average wage, their average money that they make as gross profit is $42,000 a year. It will, in fact, shut down trucks all over California. Another 34% is 2 to 5 truck owner operators, right. And then another 15% is 6 to 20. So it's a very, very small number of trucks that are actually out on the road that come from a major trucking company. And the major trucking companies were able to finagle a deal with CARB so that they have a much greater extension because of the number of trucks that they have to get retrofitted with this $15,000 filter that's about this big. So what I'm really super concerned about today is that because California Commerce clearly dictates the activity of diesel trucks, and I know personally 3 different trucking companies have gone out of business in the last 3 weeks because they cannot afford to do this.
The last 3 weeks.
In the last 3 weeks. Trucks will be parked on January 1st, and I would say that it's probably going to take for the whole system to completely clear out. By March 1st, there is a very, very good possibility that there won't be anything on the shelves. And I don't care whether you're going to a grocery store, a hardware store, a shoe store, it doesn't matter because there aren't going to be any trucks.
Ed, let's say I'm a trucker in North Carolina and I want to haul a load of furniture out here to California. When I cross the border, even though I'm registered in North Carolina, am I in danger of being fined here in California?
Well, you will have 5,000 miles a year that you can perform without having this filter put on your truck. The problem is that trucker that you're talking about that hauls cotton from Kern County to Carolina and picks up furniture in Carolina and brings it back to California, you'll only come for about 6 months of the year. And the rest of the time, you're not going to come back because you're going to be over your 5,000 miles a month because those guys come into California and they start delivering in San Diego and they finish delivering in Redding to furniture companies all up and down there. So after about 3 or 4 trips, their 5,000 miles is spent. The same with trucks coming in from Mexico. So all of these trucks that are going to be parked are simply being sold into Mexico, and those drivers are going to come over the border and do the same thing. 5,000 miles, take the truck back, jump in another truck, and come back and forth.
I'm hearing nothing about this on television, radio. I'm not reading anything about it in the paper, and yet you're talking about literally a collapse of our delivery system of all the goods that we rely on to live.
No question. I don't care what we have in this room or at your home. It was delivered with diesel truck. And the CARB rule is going to it's going to shut down. Well, I own 2 trucks, and my 2 trucks have a 2004 and a 2006 engine in them.
Okay.
We're going to be okay because our company had the capacity, because we're not in a total trucking business, to forego the cost of 2 of these systems. So we're okay. But it's only because our fertilizer company has the capacity to handle this kind of cost, and we've been working on it for a goodly period of time. But the point is the guys who have to run up against the wall and have no money, they're going to park their trucks. It's reality.
Now, if they get fined, 1, they can't afford the system. 2, they can't afford the fine. What happens to them? Do they go to jail, or what?
Right.
What happens to them? Do their trucks get repossessed?
What can be done?
All of the above.
All of the above.
At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, our court systems are going to be jammed with trucking companies who are going out of business that owe bureaucracy money simply because they couldn't do it. So one trucking company after another will go out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks for coming, Ed. We'll have you back.
How very interesting. Yes, we will have you back. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, this ends our show. We're going to say goodbye for now, but we'll be back next year. Thanks to Jose Arredondo with Family Motors Auto Group and Ken Bomar, our anger resolution man. And thanks to all of you for joining us today in our studio and all across the world. Don, congratulations. Season 1, episode 9. And yes, so thank you all too very much for your support. And thank you for viewing. Thank you, Jim Lopez.
All right, let's pay tribute.